Welcome to Transcendent. I'm Raya and I'm the daughter.
And I'm Joe, and I'm the dad.
For my day job, I sell Medicare insurance. People are always coming up to me and asking for my advice. What's the best plan that I should get? They're surprised that the most important thing that you can get is actually just to get a good blanket.
A
The
good
reason is,
blanket.
yeah, because if something happens and you have an emergency in the middle of the night, you're covered.
I was playing cribbage with someone. Whenever he got a bad hand, he complained and it was just terrible. And look, and you get all this stuff and I don't. And it went on and on. Every single time I beat him, it was all terrible. And he would say things like, "This is just ridiculous. I can't believe this." I had to say to him, we all are in the same boat. I've been on both sides of this game, and this is just a game. We're here to have some fun together. If you're not having any fun with it, I'm not sure why you want to play. Enjoy our time together. We're just having a good time with this. Yes, you do get bad cards, but so do I. It's just the way the game is played. You have to sometimes stop and look at yourself and say, am I really getting the most enjoyment out of life that I can? Am I really happy? And when I'm not happy, whose fault is it? Is this someone else? Is it the way I shuffled the cards that made you unhappy? I don't think so. Logic says these things happen to us in our life. Now we can expand that to the entire life and say, what is it that makes us happy? And I'll tell you what it is. It is ourselves. We are responsible for our own happiness. Happiness comes from our insides. If I am not happy at some point, it's because I'm in a situation that I refuse to leave or get out of. When you allow other people to bring you down, it is something that is so difficult to turn around because you walk into the situation automatically being unhappy when in reality, each of us controls our own happiness. So, life wisdom is about simple truths that we can remember, things that we can do to realize that we do control our own happiness.
Right. It's easy to think that it's all based on circumstances. And in fact, right now, this is a time in our history where when you turn on the news, you just get bad news all the time. Three, four stories a day of, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. And you can get bogged down in it. And those things do matter. But I have seen so many people that are some of the happiest people I know, and they've been through some of the hardest circumstances in life. By the same token, I've seen people that everything is going great for them and they seem to be doing well, and yet they just seem miserable. Almost as if there's not even a correlation between the two. What really matters is how do you approach things. And so we've got some simple truths here that we want to share with you that can help you to keep these things in perspective so that it doesn't get out of control when you feel overwhelmed with the circumstances around you. When things are going bad or when things are going good, we need to be reminded of these things all the time.
This can be shared so easily with all of us because we are part of the LGBTQ plus community. And we all have concerns. We all have things that could bring us down if we allow it to. If
Or
we,
allies, right?
yeah,
Or are you coming out to us right now?
no, it's for both of us. It
But
is
yes, but
allies.
allies and for everything, when we're dealing with LGBTQ relationships, all of us are involved in that, and there's a lot of deep wisdom here.
We just did a podcast very recently about a person who wrote us because she was concerned that her son was coming up, she said, I think my son might be gay. Oh, what do I do? She's already set herself up to be unhappy. and not realizing that there is a lot of happiness in the fact that here she has a child that is willing to be their authentic self, and that is
Right.
one of the main points that's really critical. If your child is moving toward happiness as opposed toward a situation where they are making themselves vulnerable and a target for things, it creates a lot more problems.
Each day is a gift. Every morning gives us a fresh canvas. You wake up, you've got a whole new day ahead of you. I remember years ago, I had a coworker that every time I would meet him in the morning, I would say, "How's it going?" And he said, "All set for another day." Every single morning, that was the way that he would greet the day. And I thought it was such a breath of fresh air. That's the way that we want to be living, not waking up, "Oh, no, what is today? Oh, another Monday. Oh, no, it's gonna be
Yeah.
so rough. It's gonna be so difficult." No, every single day is a gift.
I believe there's a quote that says, don't worry about tomorrow. It'll have enough problems of its own.
That's right.
Enjoy today. And you can. It really is quite easy. You just look at all of the wonderful things that happen to you every single day, and they do. Instead of letting yourself focus on the negatives, I try to focus on the positives and say, this is what's great. There is a lot there that's making me unhappy if you allow it to. Instead, wow, isn't that a beautiful sunrise? Hey, do you know what today? It's going to be 65 degrees after having 2 weeks of weather that was in the 30s. It's going to be wonderful. It's part of just enjoying every day, no matter what the situation. You know what's really nice today? I got the day off. Wow, it's Saturday.
Every moment creates an opportunity. If we go too many moments without viewing it as opportunity, it's time for a reset.
I think when you try to develop a sense of peace within ourselves, it also really makes us feel much better about our entire universe, about everything we're doing. If we can bring that sense of peace to ourselves, instead of having situations bogging us down, giving us baggage, we can accept our current circumstances while you're still working toward dreams and positive things that are happening. People who have lived through major life transitions understand that resistance creates unnecessary struggle. You've certainly realized that before your transition, didn't you,
Oh,
Ryan?
I sure did. Yeah. And when I learned to live my authentic life, all of a sudden things all open up for me. And that kind of brings us to this next piece that our essential self transcends all labels. It's easy to feel like we have to behave a certain way, we have to be a certain person, we have to submit to social expectations and the life roles that are given to us from the outside. But really, our inner truth is what gives us that clear path forward. Those things are not easily labeled. I'm the kind of person I like to put labels on everything because I feel like if I've given it a word, then I understand it better. But that's just not how life works. And the more that we learn to turn inward and embrace that authentic piece of ourselves, that part that challenges us to be more loving towards one another and more caring and more authentic and more true to who we are, then the more we discover that life is really what we want it to be.
We also discover, too, that life's most beautiful moments are often unplanned. It's amazing how people can see that and absorb it, and other people have a beautiful moment and see it from exactly the opposite perspective. I was coming out of the grocery store. I got in my car and I was driving out of the parking lot. There was a guy ahead of me that was at the end of the driveway, and he had pulled over to the side a little bit too far. He got stuck in the snowbank. Now, when I say stuck, he wasn't all that stuck at all. I could see two of his wheels were a little bit into the snowbank, but not that much. I thought he should be able to work himself out, but he was having a problem with it. So I stopped the car. I got out and I thought I'd help him. It was pretty easy. I could give him a shove and he'd be out of there. I suggested that his wife drive and that he come back with me and we push it out. All the while, he complained. This is ridiculous. I can't believe it. He went on and on. Instead of seeing what a happy moment there was, here's somebody that came to help me. It was pretty obvious he was going to get out because there was somebody else there to help him. But instead of seeing it as a happy moment, he just continued to not only bury his truck, but he buried his whole happy opportunities.
They call that framing. Just like a picture frame shows you what to focus on. The photographer has a whole landscape of what to choose from 360 degrees and then up and down and wherever. But you point that camera and you say, I'm going to limit it to this part right here. And that frames the picture. And that's the same with our life. I remember a time in my apartment I was renting, and one of the kids took a whole bottle of nail polish and spilled it all over the new carpeting. Deep red nail polish. My initial thought was to be fuming. And I stopped myself and I said, no, I don't want to be that way. I am not raising carpeting, I am raising children.
That's right.
And I calmed myself down and I reframed it that this is a minor irritation and we'll get through this. I took a moment to breathe and I let her know that I was not happy, but I said, but you are more important than my carpeting and we'll get through this together. But I had to stop. I had to take a moment and reframe and remind myself, it could be a whole lot worse than this. And we're going to talk about more in just a moment.
I'm Chuck Reynolds, and I started listening to Transcendent because Joe is my friend. I keep listening because I have friends, colleagues, and family members who are part of the LGBTQ community, and I want to better understand their struggles and perspectives. I have become a supporter because I believe Joe and Raya are truly helping to preserve relationships and save lives. Join me in supporting Transcendent. Just go to transcendent.com, click on support, and select the amount you'd like to give each month. It can be as little as $3, and you can cancel at any time.
We talked about reframing. One of the most important things to keep in our frame is to remember that everyone carries an invisible story. We all go through life assuming that we are the main character of our own story. And they even make fun of people sometimes. They call it main character energy. That, they just think that they're the main character of everybody's story. We need to remember that everyone else is carrying their own invisible story. Behind those frustrating behaviors and all the things that drive us nuts, we have a shared humanity with one another. So both LGBTQ plus communities and older generations and those around us, our loved ones, we've all experienced the power of being seen beyond those superficial judgments.
And the same thing is true with emotions. Emotions are not the masters of us, they are messengers. Behind frustrating behaviors and differences is our shared humanity. LGBTQ communities share with other people and experience the power of being seen beyond superficial judgments. Emotions aren't the masters of us, they are messengers. So when I have a feeling or an emotion that might want to consume me, I don't allow that to happen. And my emotion will not make me the person that absorbs it and has to be down because of it. Our emotions will tell us there's a situation, and we can look at it from a realistic perspective.
Giving without expectation is one easy way to create lasting fulfillment. Boy, it is so great to watch somebody else's happiness. That's its own reward, really, that we get the opportunity to bring joy into somebody else's life. And when you know that your life goes beyond yourself and just making yourself happy, but you're actually contributing to the world, you're making the world a better place, not only do you help that person, but that reflects right back to you and you become much happier.
We have decisions that we make, and we can make those decisions based on our fears about, oh, what are we going to have to do? How can we handle this? Or we can decide to look at that same situation and make decisions based on our desires, not our fears. So instead of looking at it as a fear that, oh, if I don't do this, then what's going to happen? Rather than a desire, this is the target I'm looking toward. And when you make progress, a step in the direction toward that, it certainly is much better for your internal self peace and also for the fact that you can see, as my other daughter says, it'll work out. It always does. She said that to me, I think probably 40 years. And when I look back on everything that I've been involved in my life, every situation that's been a block or a concern of some kind, it'll work out. It always does. Think for yourself when you were young. What were the main issues that our government was dealing with? For me, it was the population explosion. That was going to be a really terrible thing. What's going to happen when the world has this happen? I don't hear people talking about that anymore. It's something else. We were trying to convince everybody at that point you probably should only have two kids. Don't have any more than that. And in fact, it's better if you have none. That was such a big deal for a long time. And people were talking about this. But how many people actually did it? I don't know. But the point is, it'll work out. It always does.
Right. It's easy to get yourself living in terms of one particular story where you have cast yourself as the victim. And not to say that that story is not true, but that's maybe not the best story to be indwelling and inhabiting all the time. You know, our focus determines our experience. And if you are focused on a story where you remember all of the bad things that have been done to you, you see how bad things are, you will always find that story because it's always there. But you can also, through the midst of anything that's going on, you can always find the silver lining. You can refocus and find the story that makes your life positive. One of the most amazing things I think is the observation that we have had in psychology. Psychologists have figured out that when you have a major life event, either positive or negative, that dramatically changes the entire structure of your life. You end up being back to the same level of emotional stability as you were beforehand within about 6 months. And that means Even if you get, say, paralyzed, you become a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, think, boy, I don't know how I would get past that. But the research shows that within about 6 months, when you figured out how to navigate your new life, you'll actually be back to about the same emotional state. Or on the other hand, you think, boy, if I won the lottery, things would be so great for me. Now, actually, they discover that the lottery itself comes with a lot of its own issues that you don't realize, and it actually has destroyed a lot of people's lives. It makes things a lot more difficult than you think. But even when you have great things happen to you, our mind resets it so that that becomes the new normal. And we go back to about how things were beforehand. So the best thing that we can do is set our focus on the things that sustain us through our days, that bring us joy, that bring us happiness. Set our focus on our relationships. Set our focus on the ways that we can help other people, that we can give back to the world, because that is where true happiness is found.
Take a look at happiness in another way. What do you think makes us successful? What is success? Is success having more money and more and more and more and more? Is success something that you have more power? Is success rising up in your company and being promoted to the point where you're working 60 hours a week and you have a lot more responsibility and a lot more challenges and a lot more problems? Are those what define our success? I suggest to you that they're not. I suggest our success is what truly makes us happy. Wonderful, loving relationships are success. Having a good circle of friends is success. Sometimes you think of success as I lost 10 pounds. That is just as much of a success for you as stepping up to the next level of anything else. It's another thing you're doing if that's what you want to do because it makes you happy. But if it's something you think is going to be better because you're going to have more money or more of something else like that, it's not necessarily the case. Success is how you define it logically. If you define it illogically and you project out that if I had this, such as the lottery, if I win this, happiness will be for me forever. I've got it then. But as Raya said, that's not how it works out. It never does. Success always works out if their goal is part of happiness. Then success will work out. It'll work out. It always does.
And really, the sweet spot is when we can find the place where we have complete gratitude and thankfulness for our lives exactly as they are right now, and a complete understanding of where we're going and what our goals are. That we are equally focused on what's coming up in the future, what's coming down the pike that we're excited about. What's the next thing that we can't wait to get to, that we can't wait to do, that we can't wait to share with others and be a part of? And yet, not because it's the destination that's important, but because we're so content with the journey. We know exactly where we are right now and we're happy where we are. And we also know exactly where we're going. And when we can get those two in balance, that's right where we want to be. And we can find that freedom in our lives when we live in that place and we're not living our lives in terms of shoulds. Boy, that word should, it always creeps in, and it's easy to give yourself, oh, well, I should be doing this, and my life right now should be more like that, and I should be pursuing such and such a thing. And instead of drawing from that authentic place, authentic living, we instead take these external things. Somebody told us one time we should be doing this, and now we're filled with anxiety because, oh, I'm not living up to that should. Well, shoulds, an unchecked should can be one of your greatest killers of happiness. But when you label it, when you recognize it, when you call it out and you say, hey, wait a minute, who said I should? I get to decide if that's my life or not. I
Yes.
don't have to be any particular way. The should is only whoever I feel like I should be and what feels good and authentic to me.
And
That's
you
where we
have,
want to live.
and you have experienced that in you felt you decided to live a life that you thought you should until you decided to become your authentic self. And that's when you found the happiness. Am I right?
Yes, yes. And I let it go way, way, way too long before I finally faced up to who I really wanted to be. I lived in that realm of thinking I should be a certain way. And those shoulds can be really difficult. But one thing that is never a should for you is listen to this podcast. Hopefully, you can come back here every week and get pumped up, get encouraged, get some new excitement for going forward, for living your life with more happiness and joy, and for making your relationships more vibrant than they've ever been before.
Between now and next week, I hope that you're going to have one of the happiest weeks that you have had. And with that, we'll see you Monday.